Hewlett and Dunn coffee cup. I'm ready to roll. Got the Shadrack's Southern Pecan and Jamaican Me Crazy coffee mixture. You can't beat it. Hey, it is Wednesday, July 2nd. That means that we're 2 days from the 4th of July. Happy birthday.
Are you going to blow up stuff this year?
Oh, yeah, man. Jerry Lawler's fireworks stand right by the bridge. The wrestler, I'm going to go buy me all kind of explosives. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have fun. Hey, take a picture with your phone of the QR code. We are live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, 7 channels simultaneously. Share the show. Type in your comments, your questions. We love hearing from the audience. And, man, there's a lot of you watching. We are blessed, and thank you in more ways than you will ever know, telling your friends, families, and neighbors. I want to say, look, we do this 5 days a week, and we got 8, I think, shows on this channel on the SEC Sidelines Sports Network. So let's get started. And Brendan, you and your dad, Buddy Martin, just had the opportunity to talk with Urban Meyer.
One of the greats.
Yeah,
one of the greats.
187 and 32. That's pretty damn good, and 3 national championships.
And you know what I love is he starts out the entire podcast. If you didn't catch it, we're going to play an excerpt of it, but and you'll see it on Buddy Martin's show tonight in its entirety. But he starts out by giving props to the vets. He's just such a big, he was a guy. His family was all in the military, so. I gotta love that. He always takes his time out to for the veterans, and I that's just when he's an awesome dude.
Yeah, he is, and he's very
one
grateful,
of us.
Very grateful. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Let's hear what Coach has to say. Then we'll bring in Big Ben up in Kennesaw.
All right, this is from earlier, about half an hour ago, with Urban Meyer on Best Fridays in Football.
Hello and welcome to.
I'm sorry. I'm going to fast forward everyone just because we're like that here. So we don't want to give it all away. Didn't hold my thing, but
graduating
Urban,
from a school
right here. Sorry, everybody.
Then a bunch of freshmen and sophomore. So
check it out.
Penn State's there. I will say this: there's a couple ways to evaluate a conference. One is loss record, national championships, but the other is the NFL draft. And I did this on Colin Cowherd yesterday. Is that the Big Ten in 08-09 had 28 draft picks. 28. This past year they had 71. So when you start evaluating quality, I always thought the Big Ten had great players, but not near the depth of the SEC. Not even close. That's changed. I would still say the SEC is top to bottom, a stronger conference. However, the top of the conference strength, it's people sometimes say, oh, come on, it's really easy to evaluate, but you look at bowl games, national championship, and playoff performance, and the Big Ten's the best conference in college football right now.
Well, and Ohio State's not afraid to open up the coffers. I heard they're spending more money this year. Obviously that makes a difference. We get into all that NIL stuff, but how much of that is making a difference, and how close are we to having AAA ball, Coach, at some point where I feel like, it's getting kind of weird out there.
Yeah, the product on the field, Brendan's never been better. I think the coaching's never been better. The enthusiasm by the fan bases, the television coverage. It's in the playoffs. I wish that was around in our era, because I think we would have had a couple more, at least close to national. I think the 09 team and certainly our 15 team would have been in that hunt, but we weren't. So, yes, money is the difference. And you know this, buddy, because me and you talked about this many, many times. I come from a family of education is everything. And I don't hear much about, how great a degree Florida is and the networking that you can align after graduating from a school like Florida. That was a big recruiting point of ours, and it worked. And then Ohio State, real life Wednesdays, and the preparing guys for life after football. Now it's how much are you going to pay me? And that's where I'm going. So I'm not being critical. I'm just sharing that, I know this. I've done this for that long, and I've been around a little bit. The NIL money, buddy, in case you don't know this, will eventually run out. You know, you don't have, when you're 28 years old, don't keep asking for NIL money. And a lot of those guys aren't going to be making enough money, generational money in the NFL. The question I have is this: are they set up for life with a nice job? Are they working? Are they supporting their family? Are there fruits of their labor being rewarded by, oh, come on, coach, that's old school. I get it. It's real old school. But I think you're going to see some residual impact of the non-emphasis on the life after football.
Urban Meyer, you can catch him on Big Noon Fridays soon.
I will tell you what.
The GOAT.
Truer words haven't been spoken, and he's right. He's dead right. And what an interview, getting to talk to Coach this morning wearing the Ute shirt. And Ben, Ben Troupe up in Kennesaw Mountain, Georgia, that when you've told us this on this show, and I love it when you say it, when you go back to Florida, you gravitate toward the scout team guys and people like that helped make you who you are. And, you know, when you think about it, you go back in that training room 10, 20, 30 years later, people still remember you because you hung in there, you fought your ass off, and you never quit. And he's right. You may make $500,000 now, but if you're blowing through it, that's a different story, isn't it?
It is. Coach Urban Meyer understands. He understands the environment that we're in now because and when he speaks, everybody listens. And he's earned that. But no matter what, when we're talking about NIL, we're not talking about everybody. We are still talking about the exception. You would be surprised. Yeah. My nephew, right now, student athlete at Kennesaw State. He's a part of the 2025 class. We just came from getting him food, from Walmart, right? Yeah. Like when I was in school, it's not across the board. We're still talking about the have-gots, and the have-gots compared to college are few and far between. Ohio State, Florida, Georgia, LSU, I get it. 18 schools in the state of Florida provide scholarships for student athletes. All those schools are not getting NIL. We in the NIL era, but when we talking about what we're talking about is, I can tell you the kid that was supposed to go to LSU that flipped to go to Michigan. What about the other schools in the state of Michigan, other than Michigan and Michigan State, that provide football and basketball? So I'm not saying it's not a problem. I'm saying that the problem is still small compared to the masses, compared to how many. And I think the NIL can do a better job of helping those student athletes who know they're not going pro, who has already embraced, I'm going to get a job when I leave, incentivize them to give them something for graduating, for sticking it out, because, the Arch Mannings of the world are still, 250 some guys going to get drafted, and basketball is even smaller. So I do understand that while we'll take one thing and make it everything, no. Rob, you in wealth management. Every last one of your clients aren't dealing with wealth. Some of them are just trying to keep what they have to last a lifetime, or give their grandkids something, leave them behind. I think that when you talk about what's going on, Urban Meyer makes a great point when he says, pay me, pay me, pay me. But I'm telling you, that is all these colleges or boosters got to do is put a cap on it. Yep. We do not pay more than this. If it's my money, I decide how I divvy it out. So when someone says, how that kid get millions? Because somebody gave it to him. So I don't have a solution to it, but I do know that when you talk about these situations, it's not everywhere. Because my nephew, when he get to college, right, because he know about NIL, he's like, okay, when do I get the NIL money? Yeah. Well, it's different, and so I get it that looking at it on the surface, it looks crazy, sounds crazy. It is a little crazy because there are no guardrails.
That's right.
But outside of it, it's way more perception than reality. It's way more sizzle, no steak. And if people really start seeing the totality of it, you'll realize, okay, just because I have access to something don't mean I'm gonna get it. Just because I have access to it. So, yes, it's easy for me to say it because I did go to the University of Florida, the premier school in the state of Florida, the biggest brand in the state. But I also know that the UCFs, the USFs, the FIUs, the Ed Waters, the FAMUs, the Bethune-Cookmans of the world, they're saying, wait a minute. We could get this type of stuff. Like, yeah, you can, but I think it's more about financial literacy. Yeah. More about incentivizing them to graduate. Because this will incentivize more players or student athletes to graduate. And I don't know what you give them for graduating, but this should make the graduation rates go up a lot higher, because at least now, if I came to college using my athletic scholarship as a vehicle to get through school, and I could walk away with a couple of dollars, let me make sure that I know how to utilize this money. Because when I got to the league and I had my financial people and they told me how much money I spent, not how much money you made, let me show you how much money you spent. I was like, that's not right. Like, yeah, it is. And this is what we can track. This is how much money we can track. So it ain't about the money, man. The greatest thing about college, you used to come out with no debt. Now you paying taxes. So you gotta understand these type of things if and when you get the benefit from this NIL era.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else that's crazy. It is the money part of it is the lack of financial literacy. And they're actually, I talk to people at NIL collectives in different places off the record. Some of these kids are shocked when they have to pay taxes. They say, why am I paying taxes on money I've already spent? All right, let's switch gears. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Let's switch gears and talk blocking and tackling college football. I had a blast on the show last night, the lowdown with Lauren Meadows. And, I threw my shoes out there. You had those badass shoes up there, and I throw out a pair of Hokas, kind of wah. Squaresville.
Hokas.
But anyway, I'm looking at Florida right now. Trayon Webb, Jaden Ball, a couple of stud running backs. Eugene Wilson, Michael Sturdivant, Dallas Wilson. Dallas Wilson, wasn't he committed to Oregon, the 5-star? He's a freshman, slated to start. Let's go back, and we're going to bounce around the SEC. So we're going to be rapid fire, and then Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville will join us in the second half. Stay on if you can. If you can't, that Willie Nelson song, stay all night, stay a little longer, dance all night, dance a little longer, throw off your coat, throw it in the corner. We're going to be here for the power hour. Hour of power, Brendan calls it.
Yes.
Wasn't that Reverend Robert Schuler at the mega church in California?
Don't get Troupe. I'll get the music out for Troupe. He'll start preaching.
All right, Troupe. Look, you're up there in Kennesaw Mountain. You're right. And you're right there. You're a great example of what's really going on. It is such the exception. It is such a rarity to get a lot of money. So college football, let's talk about this Gator team. And then I want to bounce around. I know we don't have divisions, but it's easier to have some sort of a line of demarcation, because when you start trying to talk about 16 at one time, it's not easy. Gator running back room, Gator receiver room. How good is it compared to when it was day one for Billy Napier?
Gator running back room might be the best running back room in the country, if not in the SEC. You can talk to guys like Cole Kubelik. because you got returning talent coming back, which is what you want. You got guys that have game experience. You got guys that have adversity experience, which is what I like to have. They've been through the adverse times, but they see how they fit. Now, this wide receiver room, a plethora of riches. You talk about the law offices of Wilson and Wilson. Pick one. Pick whichever one you want. I think both of them are going to be really, really good. But it's back in the old days to where the starters are being pushed by the backups. I ain't got time to play. These guys behind me will take my spot. That's what makes you play the way these guys are going to play. And something you said last night, Rob, listen, hey, man, we got a lot of groceries. Who's going to deliver them? His name is DJ. He going to deliver the groceries for you. You got a guy that can get them the ball, can make every throw. But on paper right now, it's looking really, really good. From the running back room to the quarterback room to the receiver room, you got the best center in the country. Yeah. People don't got to like it, but he is. And you got a defensive line that's going to be, I think both O-line, D-line is going to be the staples for Florida this year. It's going to make life better for everybody behind them. And I think for Florida, because of what you went through in 2024, similar to 2025, you go from UCF to USF. I think they got good a shot as in to go out there and make some noise. But DJ Lagway, he's going to have to play in week one, and he's going to have to be playing the last week of the season for them to have any success this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. And another thing, smart coaches will tell you, I don't care who we play, I care how we play. You cannot get caught up in looking ahead to week 8, 10, 12. You better pay attention to week 1. That's where people get in trouble. So looking at the competition, obviously you got to play Miami, and they're trying to build that thing up again down in Coral Gables. you've got Texas A&M early. You got the Texas schools back to back. Texas October 4th, just looking at the schedule, in the Swamp. The next week you go to College Station October 11th. By the way, there was a list of the top 25 toughest venues in college football, and A&M was way up there. I think it was on a list last week, maybe number one. Look, they've got incredible fans, incredible loyalty. Everywhere you go, there's some new tradition, okay? But I don't think it's that tough of a place to play. I think, and I'm being completely transparent, they're too nice. They're too cordial. You go to the Swamp, I've been there. I mean, they're great, but man, don't mess with their Gators. How tough, when you think about venues in the SEC, is A&M the toughest place, in your opinion?
No, I think A&M is situational. I think A&M fans, if they're good, the fans is gonna do their part. And I know they got the 12 man. I understand and I respect that, but Texas A&M don't even believe that. Texas A&M does not believe they're the toughest place to play. I mean, when you think about the toughest place to play in the SEC, what's going to jump out there first at you? LSU. I mean, it's going to be rough. I mean, Death Valley going to be rough. Auburn, if they rocking, I've been there. It is a different place. Tennessee, if they rocking, it's a different place. I'm biased when it comes to my Gators. I know Florida is ugly because it's muggy, it's hot, and the fans on top of you. So I think when I think of the roughest place, and obviously Alabama is Alabama, just from that Alabama and Georgia. I've heard about Texas a lot over the years because of guys like Vince Young and Bo Scaife and Michael Griffin, guys I played with in the league, but they got to earn that distinction. When Florida is at its best, it's going to be hard to put anybody over them because the fans understand their role. They ain't just here to just enjoy the festivities. Hey, man, we got to make life tough on this other team. If you don't believe me, ask Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, ask LSU how crazy Florida can be when they got a true freshman on one side and y'all got veteran quarterbacks on the other side. So, yeah, Florida's going to have to do their part on the field because if Florida's doing their part on the field, they will inject the energy to that fan base. Because what else you going to do for 3 hours in that type of heat? You better have a winning product on the field because, hey, man, I mean, I don't know if they serving beer in college, but, cold beverages can only do so much. Yeah. If it's 90 degrees or 100 degrees out there.
Well, the wrong cold beverage is going to do too much. That's the problem. And I think that's don't you think, though, that's where you got to love being in the Swamp. That's where you got to be a Gator.
Yeah.
That's where you got to be like, man, this is the way it is. And I've heard a lot of players say that. I think those who embrace it can embrace the suck and realize that is your advantage because that's your home, right? You in the Swamp, you a Gator. That's the deal. But I think that and it goes back to like you were talking about, Rob, is does it matter to be a Florida fan and the Swamp, the history of these things, right? We talked to Urban, the traditions, the culture matters, SEC culture matters. These sort of things matter. We hear coaches talk more X's and O's and they're very compartmentalized. Boy, you look at every time I talk to Urban Meyer, it's like, dude's wide open still. Like he's just ready to come for you right now. Like he's coming. Like if you got the trophy right now, he's like, okay, let's recruit him up. Let's go. Like he doesn't care. Like and that's the attitude of winning, the culture of winning. Ben, Rob, like do we forget that? I'm not even talking about Florida right now. I'm just talking about in general. This is important. You talk about Texas A&M. It's like, yeah, but they don't got they ain't never been like Florida. You know what I mean? They haven't been like Auburn.
Yeah. Well, they have incredible tradition, but don't confuse don't confuse tradition and having a lot of money is the same thing.
Yeah.
That there's a big difference in that because if you look at I don't understand, but I mean they got some wild cheers, but I'm gonna tell you something. I know a lot of Aggies, and they are really frustrated. They're going, I mean, look, you can know the cost of everything, yet know the value of nothing. And if you are given everything, born on third base and think you hit a triple, life's tough. Life's tough enough, but if you're dumb and lazy, it'll kick your ass every day, a lot worse. Ben, Brendan, and everybody watching, what you just said, the more you teach about your history, your traditions, your heroes of your school, the harder your team plays. And I think about this, that, you look at the branches of the military. The Army, I've been told, teaches about 10 to 12 hours of Army history in the 13 weeks of basic training. The Marine Corps, I've been told by my brother-in-law, who's a gunnery sergeant, 26 years, 7 deployments, they teach at least 100. Now, you walk through the Atlanta airport, which everybody has to go to at some point in their life. It's like being born.
Yeah, before you die.
You see an E1 or an E2 Marine walking through there. That uniform is perfect. He's poking his chest out. He's probably knocked out 500 push-ups before breakfast, and he's making maybe $20,000 a year. He's got more pride because pain is temporary. Pride is forever. You better teach your football team, because you know what culture is? In the fourth quarter, when you're worn out and you want to pull over to the side and quit, you find something in you, don't you, Ben? And that's what you better be teaching, because if it's all about the paycheck, it ain't going to be a culture that you want to be a part of.
Well, I mean, paychecks aren't cultures. Paycheck is just the environment that we're in, and culture is who you are when you're at your worst. That's what culture is. When the coach says, "Look, I kind of want my team to be in dire straits in the fourth quarter, so I can show y'all, not show us, show y'all who we are. I know who we are, but the culture is culture is the foundation, and most teams don't have that. Most teams got traditions that don't go outside those cities, don't go outside those states. I think when you talk about a team like Florida, a team like Auburn, a team like LSU, a team like Alabama, a team like Georgia, their tradition is respected nationally. People are, oh, yeah, I know what they do there. Yeah, those guys do that. Most schools don't have a culture outside of the school. So I just think for this Florida team, last year, the second half of the season, nobody was playing better. Ask Tennessee how scared they were to go to overtime, right? Ask Georgia how they felt in the fourth quarter, backup quarterback, tied 20-20 with 6 minutes to go, right? I would ask Brian Kelly, right? I mean, I would ask Lane Kiffin, but they hate the Swamp because they saw what happened. And this was supposed to be teams that are supposed to make noise this year. So I just think for this Florida team, culture is the hardest thing to build, not just in a team, but in life, an organization, a family. It's the hardest thing to build. But once it is built, then you just play and plug guys. You just play and plug guys in. And I think that's what Billy Napier is going to get judged more heavily in 2025 because he got his guys. Now you got your guys, and you got guys that's been here. You got guys that's got here. You got veteran talent. You got new talent. Let's put them together. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, Ben, and that's critical. Look at a program like South Carolina, and I'm going to tell you something right now. I do want to mention something. I got somebody watching. Allison Dooley, Allie B's. It's a restaurant, bakery, deli, unbelievable food in Marion, Arkansas. They're open every day of the week except Sunday and Monday, Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 5:30, Saturday, 10 to 2. Closed this week for vacation, though. It's the 4th of July. I think a lot of people are out. I mean, hopefully they're all at home watching this show, Ben and Brendan, because that's what we love. And tell your friends about it. You're at the beach. How you doing out there, everybody? I'm glad to see you. But, Ben, you look at South Carolina, and, Shane Beamer grew up pulling the cables. He and Marty Smith are good friends. Marty's from up there near Smith Mountain, Blacksburg. What Shane Beamer's doing at South Carolina is taking that Virginia Tech culture in a lot of ways to a starved fan base. And I will give an A+ to the Gamecock Nation. They pack them. I started listening to South Carolina football as a kid. I think his name was Bob Fulton or Bill Fulton, the radio play-by-play, the voice of the Gamecocks, when the running back from Duluth, Georgia, George Rogers, was there. And I could listen to him on my little white transistor radio, Ben, that I still have. But you know what? That got me hooked as a kid on college football. AM 750 WSB Atlanta used to carry Georgia football, and 86 seconds left. Dogs in a fight. Dogs fighting hard. Troupe lines up wide to the left for the Gators. Don't let him break free. You think about why we love college football. Tony Barnhart was on yesterday. Okay. All this NIL and all this other stuff, it's a distraction. I'm telling you right now, people, we are about to have one of the greatest college football seasons you've ever seen. You know why? Because the players, I think the free market is starting to figure this stuff out. NIL money, like Urban Meyer just said when Brendan and Buddy were talking to him this morning, it's going to run out. Then what are you going to have? Your culture. And I know that in just a moment, Vince Ferrara is going to check in from Knoxville. But Ben, give me a pep talk. Tell me why South Carolina, why it's going to matter. Lenoris Sellers. What a story. The kid out of Florence, South Carolina. You know what Florence, South Carolina is famous for, don't you? Francis Marion, the swamp fox in the Revolutionary War in South Carolina, kicked some redcoats around. But I think Lenoris and his father, that's a great story. Talk about those Gamecocks. I'm drinking Jamaican Me Crazy and Southern Pecan coffee. I'm wired up.
Lenoris Sellers is one of the best young quarterbacks in college football. SEC Freshman of the Year, Freshman All-American, third team All-SEC. The reason why I'm always say this about a school like South Carolina, any other school, whenever they are homegrown, you got a kid that grew up a South Carolina fan from the state of South Carolina and is going to South Carolina. Why is that important? When South Carolina was at its best, when they went 11-2, 11-2, 11-2, Stephon Gilmore, where is he from? South Carolina, right? Jadeveon Clowney, where is he from? South Carolina. When you have guys that grew up and saying, hey, man, I just want to be a Gamecock. And if I can ever get a chance to do it. And look at the way he's playing. 6'3", 240 pounds, can throw it, can run it. Shane Beamer understands I'm going to get more effort from a guy that grew up in South Carolina, regardless of who the coach was. Lenoris wanted to be there. I want to be a Gamecock no matter who the coach is. And I'm going to keep saying this. The best teams got two things in common. They got a coach that's been there for a little while, and they got a quarterback that can sling it. Texas, check. Florida, check. South Carolina, check. LSU, check. Oklahoma, check. You talk about what Ohio State's bringing back, check. All these teams have that quarterback who's going to lead them. And Lenoris, I know people ain't talking. A lot of people talk about him. This young man could do it. Like, he's nice. I know I'm biased with my quarterback down there in Gainesville, but that young man in Columbia, look out, because, Florida don't play South Carolina. They ain't on the rotation yet, but I would love to see Lenoris versus DJ Lagway, just like I'm looking forward to a DJ Lagway, because, listen, teams is why you watch. Quarterbacks is why you pay money to watch. And that's what I think this kid, I think he's box office.
Yeah. Carolina, that David Baker, great friend of mine over in Memphis. Ben Troupe is another one of my favorites. Caroline Baker, his daughter, she's a great shot, by the way. She puts a lot of men to shame, I just must admit, but is a rabid Gamecock fan. She went to South Carolina, and I Coach Ellis Johnson's on the show on Mondays. Coached at South Carolina, lives in Winsboro. He's got a son. Charlie is a tight end, a PWO at Clemson, a rising sophomore, about 6'4", 235. Ben, that's pretty good size, and got really good hands. I think Charlie's going to have a really good career at Clemson. What you just said. Let's look at Tennessee. Ben, you've played in Neyland Stadium. Get out of here, dog. Dogs are under the theater. Watch out. Move, Daphne. God. And I got the cat and the dog fighting. Sorry about that. But you've been to Neyland Stadium. You've gone out there. You've watched the Vols run through the Power T. As John Ward would famously say on the radio, as this crowd of some 105,000 readies and rises to their feet on the banks of the Tennessee River, the Tennessee Marching Band will come out, the Pride of the Southland Band, and form a giant T, and then the Volunteers will run through, and ladies and gentlemen, it is football time in Tennessee. You can't get much better than a Saturday night at Neyland Stadium, Ben. Talk about that atmosphere, the raucous, rowdy, just hell-raising, and Smokey the dog over there going, arr, 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 arr.
It's one of the greatest places in college football. It's a part of the college football fabric. I hate having to give Tennessee all this love, but I played there twice. I was a part of the Catch No Catch in 2000.
Jabbar Gaffney?
Yeah. I was part of the Catch No Catch with Jabbar Gaffney. But I would say if you've never been to Tyson Neyland, put it on your bucket list. It's hard to not look at it. I'm like, where are these? Like, I went to Florida. This stadium is huge, but Tennessee, that's a different world. You got 100,000 growling at you. I don't know if Smokey got an air conditioned cage like Uga. They might make him just sit out there in the elements with us. Yeah. But I respect Tennessee and how big the stadium is. But once again, when Tennessee is rocking, you don't want to be in Tyson, man. Nice Nealon. When they doing and I'm the Philip Fulmer, the peak.
Yeah.
I'm a couple of years after the national championship. They won in '98. We beat them in '99. We go up there in 2000. It wasn't a good time. 2001. So I think that man, Tennessee is where it's at. I know Vanderbilt got they got a really, really exciting quarterback right now. But no, Tennessee is one of those places. Tennessee is equivalent to Michigan as far as like size.
Yeah.
Like the big house, man. Tennessee is huge. I don't know where all these people come from. That much Tennessee orange growling at you and howling at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you got to be built different. My welcome to Tennessee mom was crazy.
I agree. Let's go to the Sports Animal 99.1 in Knoxville, Tennessee. Vince Ferrara. Vince talking with Ben Troupe. We were talking about, I just said, what's better than a Saturday night in Neyland Stadium, 102,000 plus up in the Smoky Mountains, that atmosphere, that environment. There's a lot of distractions right now, but yesterday when Tony Barnhart was on here, said, man, it is put the pedal to the metal, depth charts, blocking, tackling, special teams. Vince, I like what Josh Heupel said to Nico Iamaleava. None of us are bigger than the Power T. Vince Ferrara, welcome aboard on a wild Wednesday morning as we head into 4th of July. I'm drinking the coffee. I'm wound up. Let's talk some Tennessee football. It's Big Orange Wednesday. How are you?
Yeah, Rob, Ben, great to be on with you guys. I'm good. We'll get to something that happened on our show today that, Rob, you'll appreciate. I'll get to that in a second. But to address your point, it's been a more recent topic of conversation because you had EA Sports come out with their rankings of college stadiums, and they had Tennessee like 12th or 13th. Yeah. And, of course, those of us that have been around the league are like, you got to be kidding me, right? 12 or 13? Now, you can there's those that you can debate as the elite of the elite, and depending on how good your team is, some can get louder than others. But man, Tennessee is in the conversation for the loudest and the most intimidating atmospheres. I've been around the league, not every single venue. I've been to Florida and Alabama and LSU at night, Auburn. And I've been to a bunch of them, not all of them, but most of them. And at its peak, Tennessee is as good, if not the best, in all of college sports and in all of college football. So Josh Pate from On3, I think it was, or one of those outlets.
Sports,
CBS Sports, that's what it is. Sorry. He defended Tennessee, and he said no. Neyland is the best at its best, and so I would agree with that more so than 12 or 13. So it has been more of a topic of conversation as of late.
Yeah, Ben had an 8:40 or 9:40 another show he's got to be on, so he had to go. But he was really talking about the catch no catch. But I've been to Neyland a bunch. And, I got a lot of Tennessee fans watching right now, like John David Baddour grew up over in Covington. You cut that man, his blood is not red. It's not orange. It's checkerboard, orange and white. And, just a few weeks ago, I got a bunch of texts, people remembering John Ward. He passed away in June of 2018. I remember it very well. He brought so many fans to Neyland Stadium, and if they couldn't be there, some families, it's a big deal to be able to afford to take 5 or 6 people. It is for anybody, let's be honest, to go to a game. But he made you feel part of the Vol Nation. And you doing your show every morning, I don't know if you have any idea how many lives you are impacting, but when you go out and people meet you, they go, you're Vince Ferrara. You're telling stories. You're connecting people. It's a really big deal. What's going on up in Knoxville? that y'all are talking about that we aren't talking about, like I always say, that we better know about?
Well, and it kind of connects, and I appreciate the kind words as always, Rob, but kind of connecting to what you're talking about in the history of the Vol Network and connecting with Vols fans. On our show this morning, the great Bob Kessling, who just retired,
yep,
he crashed our show. He basically walked behind me and basically was like, "Beat it, kid." And so, so I stepped aside and let him sit in my seat. And John Wilkerson, we were in the middle of our daily trivia when he did this. And John's taking guesses from callers while having Bob Kessling staring him in the face like this, waiting for him to wrap up so he could say something. And so once John, like a professional, he finishes his the giveaway, then I jump back on the headsets just to say what the prize is, give the headsets to Bob. John's like trying to just act like nothing's going on, and then he brings in Bob Kessling, who then announces to him that they are inducting John Wilkerson into the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame as part of the 2025 class. So Bob Kessling came on our show to break that news on our show this morning. So there's already some video out on the station's socials. It's Sports Animal 991, and I think we're going to have the full professional version of it a little bit later on, which is cool. And having those two talk about it and have Bob make that announcement to John and John's reaction. So that was a cool moment from the show this morning. I think it was our first ever 4-guest hour that we had because we had an awesome wing place, Big Kahuna Wings, for their festival they're having. And so he hopped on. He was like waiting. He hopped on afterwards. We had Chris George from Blue Ribbon Yearbook, who if you haven't talked to Chris before, Rob, highly recommend. His Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook is unmatched in terms of getting you ready for the college basketball season. And then we had former Tennessee baseball player Liam Spence, who's playing for one of the teams in the Savannah Bananas League, which has just become an absolute phenomenon, selling out football stadiums. It's crazy. So he's playing for one of those teams. So we somehow shoehorned it in, but the highlight was John's induction into the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame for the 2025 class.
Well, he deserves it, and you are a great one as well. And Bob Kessling, love Bob Kessling. When he, went away to Jefferson Pilot for a while doing the TV games, then came back to be the voice of the Vols, love him. And he is kind enough to come on this show every time we ask him, and got to get him on again soon. The radio people are like, think about a combat correspondent, Ernie Pyle in World War II. They were just there. Now, this is not combat, no disrespect, but the radio people are there for every play, every detail, the pregame 3 or 4 hour show, the postgame. By the way, why is it that everyone always talks in hushed, almost reverent tones to the coaches and players after a loss, but after a win, they're like, "Man, that was a great one." After a loss, you're like, "Man, I'm so sorry. My condolences." It's like, "Hey, man, you guys laid an egg tonight. Y'all try that one."
Try that in the NCAA tournament, or like a real postseason when those guys have towels over their heads and they don't want any part of any of you guys being there. So I think that's part of that tone is like, all right, let's be honest. We don't want to be here. You don't want us here. So let's just kind of get through this. And I'm going to give you a soft landing to give me something on what what just happened. So I guess in New York, LA, and some of those, you can be a little bit more harsh, but man, I've been in some of those season-ending, career-ending locker rooms. That's tough. So I've been guilty of that tone before.
Well, it is because it's tough because emotionally they're spent and they've given a lot and they know what's on the line. The great thing about what college football is happening now, the fans own college football. Everybody, the tail's wagging the dog. No, blocking, tackling, special teams. We're getting closer to media days, and I'm looking forward to helping out any way I can with anything that you ask me to do for you while we're down there in Atlanta. I'm excited about it. But, this Tennessee football team, Joey Aguilar, you look at his career, he's a couple of years at App State, and he goes back to UCLA for a semester. Now he's in Knoxville. He's from Antioch, California. You know who else is from Antioch, California? Former Alabama hell of a running back, Najee Harris from Antioch. That's the Bay Area out there. Let's talk about also Berklinger, the kid from Savannah Calvary Day School. He thinks that maybe that's his job to have to be beaten out on. So you've got a healthy quarterback room, and again, 4 years, total of 18 interceptions. Connect the dots. Josh Heupel knows how to coach the quarterback position.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Aguilar. Let me give you some insight on Joey Aguilar, because he's been here. I guess it's coming up on a month and a half where he's been on campus. And what we saw this past week was Aguilar getting out in the community. He went to East Tennessee Children's Hospital and met with some kids this week or last week. And then he was at an autograph signing, and there was some video that came out of him interacting with kids and engaging with them, and laughing with them and high-fiving with them and holding babies to pose for pictures and stuff. And man, the Tennessee fan reaction was incredible to see this guy trying to be QB1. He's only been here a short period of time, that is wearing Tennessee orange and connecting with the fans and embracing it at an NIL event, but one with the fans. And then all the reaction was, well, man, that's one more event than Nico ever did. And I don't know that to be the case. I think Nico did do that, but I think the fans were so frustrated with Nico leaving that they see this engaging guy, pretty good size, 6'3", 220. And I've heard that he looks all of that, if not more, in terms of being filled out in a big body, but doing the right things in connecting with his teammates, being out in the community. You're never going to know until we get to see him in a game. Practices will mean more. But man, talk about maximizing your time and getting fans on your side. You do some things, this, Rob. You do some things. One thing for a fan, high five their kid, they're going to look at you different, and they're not going to get on social media and trash you if they have any sort of salt to them, and it makes a big difference. So Aguilar has done good work, and as far as on the field and his teammates, all accounts are he's checking all those boxes and doing the right thing. So Merklinger is he's probably got the second best odds to get that gig, and then George McIntyre, the 5-star from Nashville, he's a true freshman, so probably third. We had Ryan Callahan fill in for John Wilkerson last week. Ryan works for GoVols 24/7, and I said, all right, Ryan, give me a percentage chance that each of those three guys is QB1 4 balls on day one. And he said 80 for Aguilar, 15 for Merklinger, 5 for McIntyre. I think that I thought that number was a little bit higher than what I thought he might say, but I think that shows you what a lot of us think, that this is Aguilar's gig to lose with the experience and him doing the right thing so far, that Merklinger is going to have to be special to hold on to win that job from Aguilar because of that experience. And then Aguilar does have arm talent to go with it as well.
Yeah. I want to go back. You just talked about the fans seeing Joey Aguilar hugging the kids and taking pictures with them at Children's Hospital. Think about, you bring some friends home and go in the kitchen at Mama Ferrara's house in Tampa, and your mom's making, manicotti. She's making lasagna. She's making spaghetti. She's making cannolis. She's making all the great pastas. And she's sitting there going, do you like it? Yeah. And like my dad says, nobody loves life more than the Italians and the Cajuns. And you put them together, holy cow, you'll never sleep. But I think you just nailed it. We want to see as fans, and I'm a fan too, we want to see them love the school like we do. Ivan Mazel said on this show, he's only been on one time, 3 years ago, and he said, look, We in college, it's about the love of the laundry. And Ivan's from Mobile. You know, he went to Stanford, but he's from Mobile. He gets it. Joey Aguilar, Berklinger, we know about, George McIntyre. Is that junior or the third? Of course, his dad was the former great-grandfather, former Vanderbilt coach. But Vince, that's what we want to see. We want to see these kids coming into our school and loving it like we do. And I had a guy in a collective tell me they may only be wearing your jersey for 4 months, but when they are, that kid's on your team. He's part of your family. We really mean it, don't we, when we say you're part of the family. And you think about, here's the ultimate dream Saturday for a Vol fan. You got the 2:30, primetime game. Vols beat Alabama. You tailgate, and then you've got an Uber, of course, because you probably can't drive to the Great Smoky Mountains, or you go to Dollywood, and you spend a weekend up in the Smoky Mountains. Got a long weekend. It's a holiday on Monday. Watching or listening to a Vol game up in the Smoky Mountains. That is such a cool part of the country. And you think about college football, you pick the place. Picking Neyland Stadium 12th, that tells me right there, whoever put that list together, I'm not sure if they're a living brain donor, but they're on the list. It's a tough place to play. I've been there a ton of games. It's never easy.
Yeah, it's the video game EA Sports, so there's going to be subjectivity to it, and just like with their player ratings, people are going to agree and disagree to them. So, but the big thing is that on the schedule right now, you talk about the scenes at Neyland Stadium. What brings out the best, I think, of Neyland is night games. Well, they might not have very many night games this year. And in fact, there's a possibility of only 2 that are flex opportunities for either afternoon or evening, or night games. And that could be it for Tennessee. Oklahoma and Arkansas, they'll have their other night games will be on the road. So that's something that fans, I think, especially early in the year, you want the night games because it's a little bit, it gives you a little bit of break from the heat. But Tennessee didn't have a ton of night games last year. They've been in a lot of those 3:30 slots, which don't mean as much this year or anymore when you're not on CBS. But that's another story. But that's the one thing that kind of, I think, limits Neyland a little bit this year is if they don't have enough night games. You want them for big games, right? Georgia, that's going to be a 3:30 game. Oklahoma is the best shot to have just an epic atmosphere at home in a big game, especially if Oklahoma, when they come to town, they're living up to their expectations, and Tennessee's in a good spot too.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Night football is special in the South, more special, I think, than any other part of the country. Speaking of great things, I was thinking about, Vince, you ever come to Memphis, got to take you to Vanelli's Deli. My buddy Charles Vanelli, I graduated high school from Christian Brothers High School with him. They got a sandwich on there called the Mi Amore. It's got the mortadella, the salami, the provolone, the mayonnaise, the lettuce, the tomatoes, and it's on the fresh baked bread that a man brings in every morning, and it's so soft it's like a feather pillow. And Charles, I'll go in there and get spaghetti from my parents. He goes in there and makes it fresh for me on the Vikings grill. Then he does his spinach. It's 100-plus-year-old recipe. His grandfather was a legend. Lived 91 years, got to America in 1900, died in 91, had the vegetable and the fruit truck over it on Massey and Park. And you talk about a sandwich. If I'm walking the Green Mile, I'm having a Mi Amore. It's that good of a sandwich. But thinking about college football right now, you see what's happening when you start talking. It's like mental therapy. You start talking depth charts and blocking and tackling and the traditions that make it so special. By the way, we found out, maybe you told us, Smokey flies to the road games. He does not take the van, does not take the Greyhound bus. He travels first class. I'm looking at the SEC right now. I don't know if we have an elite team. Do you think we do?
Well, elite, that's kind of, I think there's teams that are the best that you could maybe fluctuate close to that category. I don't think there's a dominant team like some of those Saban Alabama teams or some of the Georgia teams where you knew there was a gap between them and everybody else. I don't think that's the case. I think Texas probably has the best roster. And by the way, the pushback against Arch Manning, I don't know how you feel about Arch Manning, but I'm fine with people having him on Heisman list and having great expectations for Arch Manning. He's like 61 or 63 of 90, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, almost 1,000 yards passing in his opportunities last year. Okay, he didn't play in their best game. He probably should have played more in your postseason games, especially maybe to convert in short yardage when you're using him as a runner. He has that great ability. He checks all the boxes. He's got Peyton Manning. Talked to Bill Bender this week. We have Bill Bender on the show, and he talked about how Peyton Manning was kind of comparing Arch Manning to Peyton Manning at Tennessee, where he had a lot of talent around him. He had returning coordinator, and he had that continuity, and he had some playing experience. And he said that that was the case for him at Tennessee. So I think Arch Manning is in a great spot. I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football, if not the best. So I don't have a problem with all the hype of Arch Manning. And I think people over-exaggerate that anyway. Like, well, everyone says Arch Manning is the best thing since sliced bread. I don't hear people talking about him that way. I think that's an extreme to make your point that you're sick of hearing about Arch Manning. But when a guy does all the right things, stays at your school, stays at that school, when we criticize others for not doing that, he didn't get in trouble. He plays well when he plays. Like, what are you hating on? So I have full confidence in Manning. Plus, that roster is still pretty loaded despite what they lost. So I think Texas is the best team, and their schedule isn't overwhelming. They have Ohio State early. It's a little bit tougher than last year, but it's still bottom part of the SEC in terms of difficulty. So to me, Texas is the best team. By the way, Tennessee very low on that list of difficult schedules. I have Tennessee as the second easiest overall schedule in the league out of the 16 teams. Some others, Phil Steele had them I think third or fourth easiest, and Bill Bender had them third or fourth easiest. I think they have 4 top 25 teams, and then they play a lot of teams, including a non-conference, that are not even receiving votes or in consideration for the top 25.
Yeah, and some of those teams that are supposed to be good might not be as good. And the flip side, some that aren't expected to be great could be exceptional. The way I look at Arch Manning, we know what Steve Spurrier said. If he was that good, why did Quinn Ewers start ahead of him? Well, and you can argue that in a lot of different ways. But if a dog will bite, when is he going to do it? When he's a pup, okay? What we've seen, the sample size of Arch Manning is really good. And he probably should have played. I think Quinn Ewers missed 5 games in his career for injuries or being banged up. That may have been something the NFL looked at. How tough is he? Arch is tough. He's smart. He also seems like he's grounded. Look at his family. And so that's something to keep an eye on. And I do think Texas is going to be really good. I think we've got a lot of really good teams. But, again, I don't see an elite team in the league. Urban Meyer, Buddy and Brendan talked with Urban Meyer right before our show this morning and played some excerpts from that conversation at the beginning of the show. And Urban Meyer said back in 08, 09, there were 29 Big Ten players drafted by the NFL. In the most recent draft, 71 Big Ten players were drafted. The SEC was number 1, but it was 79. So it's not that gigantic, chasm between the SEC and everybody else, because of the portal, that talent's getting spread around. I mean, it could be a Sun Belt team. It could be a lot of schools. You can't take off against anybody, can you?
No, the portal is definitely a factor in it. What's happening is, and we're seeing this in college baseball too, big time, and we can get into that at another point, because this college baseball roster movement is just insane. I don't think people realize it, but in football, what's happening is the biggest, best schools, they're still able to pluck the best players, some of the best players from the Group of Five or FCS, and bring them on to their schools as starters. So they can pick the best of the best. The problem is that now your depth, your backups, they're leaving it to get to the portal because they want to play. So you have highly rated guys that are now moving down in levels and now available to schools that couldn't get them in the first time in the recruiting cycle, or didn't even try. So now it makes them better because now they have these talented guys that are getting a chance to play and show what they can do. So the big schools improve their starters, lose their depth. The other schools improve their starters and never rely on the depth. And now you have a lot more of the parity. So absolutely, that's a big factor. To the numbers on the draft picks, a part of that is the Big Ten is expanded. Okay. So more teams as well. So that's a little bit of a factor. Now, Texas and Oklahoma will add to the SECs. I get that as well. But there are a number of factors in that. But, yes, the gap has closed. Look, they've cashed in on the last two national championships as well.
12 to 18 makes a difference, bringing in Oregon and Southern Cal and UCLA. But his point's well taken. Hey, ain't no easy way. There's a lot of good. Look, Vince, we got to wrap it up. Tell people how they can follow you, and I'll say something about our sponsors, and we'll get out of here in under 60 for the hour of power on the SEC.
There you go. At Vince Sports, VINCE Sports on all of the socials, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter/X, and then Sports Source TV, Sports Source Digital Network. You can look for those, search those on YouTube, and you can find some of the TV work. 4-day weekend, my friend, for the 4th of July. So hope everybody watching, has a really safe 4th weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Happy birthday, America. Thank you, Vince. You have a great weekend as well. All right, let's say something. Winter Timber Outdoors, folks. They're growing. They're spreading all over the South like kudzu and cotton, man. They are opening a 13,000 square foot store in Auburn. Looks like the first week of August. Big store, all your hunting and fishing and outdoor needs. They got everything covered. They got Sitka gear. They've got duck camp, Dixie decoys, St. Nick's knives, your deer stands, your food, everything you need for the outdoor life. Winter Timber Outdoors open every day of the week in Athens, Alabama. Also, Hugh, don't forget, right down the street, Landers Ford, Poplar, and Houston Levy. Get out there. It's worth the drive. They'll ship anywhere, landersfordmemphis.com. Open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Tell him you heard about him on Sidelines. They'll work with you to get you in a car, truck, or SUV. Right now, the new 25 Expeditions are in. All the F-150s, the 250s, the King Ranches, and those Broncos. I love them. The Laredo, the Sasquatch. The Broncos are phenomenal. And they're right down the street from Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, located on the historic square, okay? Get you one of these hats. These are these truckers' caps. They got them out there now. They only got 100 of them, and I think they have 17 left or something like that. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Hey, Mother Teresa said it best. We can't do everything. We can all do something. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Happy 4th of July. Pick up the tab. Hook 'em. See you tomorrow.